In this video, I'm going to show you how I feed my kombucha. At this point, it is pretty much turned to a vinegar. I've let it go about 3 weeks longer than I probably should have, which is okay. It just means it needs to be fed, and it is way too sour to drink on its own. So I'm just going to go ahead and bottle it to use as starter for future batches, or just for vinegar for future use. A lot of times we'll use this for cleaning because it's so acidic. But kombucha, for anyone that does not know, is basically a fermented tea drink. It's basically just sweet black or green tea that you let sit um, with a starter for about a week or so until it ferments enough and turns into a kombucha. And so what happens is, as it ferments, it creates the little pellicle, which is that silicone mat I'm showing you. Um, it's kind of a silicone texture, and that mat actually protects the drink. It's a barrier for any mold growth or any bacteria that would harm this drink. And so this drink is creating its own bacteria as it ferments. It's a probiotic, but any unwanted bacteria would cause mold growth, and you definitely don't want that, because if there's any mold growth on there, you need to throw it out. Um, so it's always good to have extra starter on hand, which is what I'm bottling here. When I started doing this about a year and a half ago, I just bought a bottle of raw, unflavored, just plain kombucha from the grocery store, and I added that to some sweet tea I made and let it sit for about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then I had my own batch of kombucha, and I've been feeding that kombucha um, ever since then. So, knock on wood, I have not had to deal with any mold issues. But it's always good to have a little bit of extra starter on hand. So I'm just going to bottle a few of these and just keep them in the pantry for now. And then I'll go ahead and show you how I feed that so I can produce even more kombucha for the future. So what I'm doing here is um, it's called the first ferment. And so how I do that is I will make a tea concentrate basically. And so my recipe is, for every 4 cups of water, you want to use 4 cups of water to a 1/4 cup of sugar and a 1/2 cup of starter, and then however strong you want your tea to be. So I usually put in 3 to 4 tea bags for that amount. Now for this recipe, I'm going to double it. I'm going to make 8 cups or half a gallon, and I'll put all these in my description. The recipe, the base recipe I use, but for half a gallon, I'm going to use 8 tea bags, 1 cup of starter, 1/2 cup of sugar, and 8 cups of water. And to make this easier, I found is to basically make a concentrate. And so I'm just going to do a little bit of water, about 3 cups there, with my 1/2 cup sugar and 8 tea bags. I'm going to brew a very strong tea for the 3 to 4 minutes, however long your specific tea you use. I use plain green tea. You can use black tea. I've used a mixture of both. I've just found the flavor of the green tea to be the best for me. I like the green tea the best. And so once that is brewed, you want to cool it down, because you don't want to add a hot drink to a room temperature glass container, because it will shatter and it will be a sticky mess all over your counter. And you also don't want to add a hot drink to your starter, because your starter is um, a living organism basically. It has live bacteria in there, and anything over 85 to 90 degrees is going to kill that bacteria, and then you won't be able to use that to brew kombucha. Kombucha is a probiotic drink. It is good for your gut. It adds bacteria to your gut to kind of keep things regular, and it's just a really good probiotic addition to your diet. So I have 4 cups of my tea here. I'm gonna pour it into my brewing vessel, and then I'm gonna add another 4 cups of water to make my total 8 cups. And then once I have 8 cups of sweet tea, essentially, I will add in my 1 cup of kombucha starter from my last batch. And then I'll let this sit for 5 to 7 days. About 5 days, you want to start tasting it. And really, once it tastes good to you is when it's ready. That's how you know it's ready, is when it tastes good to you. Obviously, the longer you let it sit, the more sour it's going to get. So if you like it sweeter, you don't let it sit as long. If you like it sour, you let it sit a little bit longer. You just always want to make sure you save about a cup for your next batch. So we'll check back here in about 5 or 6 days and see how we're going.